Often belly dance classes will spend a lot of time doing stretches. In some cases, some people even think that that's a warm-up. Well, it isn't. That's another story. But why stretch? Why should you consider doing stretches at all? Hi, I'm Kashmir, and if I pay for a dance class, that's what I want to get. I don't want to be given half an hour of badly targeted, often ineffective, and sometimes even unsafe stretches. Stretching, dancing, not the same thing. So let's just remind you exactly what a stretch is, because there is some misinformation out there, or shall we say vagueness. Now, this is not a stretch, okay? You can call it loosening up, you can call it mobilization, you can call it whatever you like. It's not a stretch. A stretch is a particular thing. A stretch is taking your muscle fibers and elongating them past their current resting length. So your muscle fibers slide in and out. When they get tight, they contract, they get tight, they don't come back out again. That shortens the muscle. So what the stretch is trying to do is to try to make the muscle just that wee bit longer than it was before you started. That is a stretch. So why should you want to do a stretch? Well, says some people, it prepares you for dancing. No, it doesn't. If you want to be prepared for dancing, you need to warm up your muscles. That isn't done with a stretch. A stretch is done on warm muscles. So a stretch is not a warm-up. It doesn't prepare you for dancing. Well, it decreases the chance of injury in class. No, it doesn't. There have been plenty of studies, thousands of participants. Stretching before a class does not decrease the chance of injury. So it's a bit of a myth. However, over-flexibility does increase the chance of injury. It stops you getting sore after class. Again, no. Again, plenty of studies, thousands of people checked. DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, is not improved by pre-exercise stretching. Again, it's another myth. Well, what else? It makes you more flexible. Now, stretching might make you more flexible. So in order to make it more flexible, the stretch has to be targeted to a muscle that you have actually got a problem with. For instance, there's no point in me stretching my calves. My calves are pretty flexible. Instead, I should spend that time stretching my hamstrings. So in class, can we have half them doing hamstrings and half them doing calves? Probably not if it's being led by a teacher. Muscle length isn't the only thing that is actually affecting your range of motion, ROM as they call it. For instance, I don't have any turnout, well, very little turnout. That's not to my lack of stretching. I assure you, as a teenager, I spent years, probably hours and hours and hours trying to get a lotus. That was the thing to do back in those days. Couldn't get it. Turns out that my hip joints, the bone, the angle of my bone and the way they fit together, the length of the shaft and all the rest of it, means I can never get it. No matter how much I stretch, no matter how much I get professional stretching help, that won't help. So if you've got bony issues, stretching doesn't help. If the issue is in the white tissue, again, doesn't help very much. You can get a little bit out of the white tissue, but very little. You can also have scarring due to accidents. Now, if you get in early enough, yes, you can do something with it, but once that scar tissue is set, it will tend to shorten the muscle. And there can be problems of bulk. It can be bulky muscles, or it can be bulky bellies. If your belly is so big as that you can't bend over, how do you think stretching is going to help that? It won't. And why exactly do you need the flexibility? Do you actually need flexibility to do belly dance? Beyond a certain amount, not really. Far more important, I find, with students is control, coordination, endurance, strength. Those things need to be built up to be able to dance. But we don't use, most styles of belly dance don't use a large range of motion. That's because it's come from a folk dance, okay? So we're looking at an easy, kind set of movements. However, you may want to consider flexibility for life. That is, you need to be flexible enough to actually get through your normal routine and be able to do things without seizing up. So if you can't bend over and tie your shoelaces, maybe you need to actually think about what you need to do to improve that range of motion. When you're doing it for life, actually just like when you're doing it for dance, you're talking about balance. So you want your left side and your right side to have the same amount of flexibility. So that might mean that you need to stretch your right side twice as much as your left side. Don't do nothing at all. You also got to do the muscle pairs, so agonist and antagonist. So if you're stretching your hamstrings, you should also stretch your quads. So you do both sides. Like I said, you might need to do more of one than the other, but make sure you do stretch both halves. So yeah, stretching is useful. I can still see you thinking, well, what about X? She's a fantastic dancer. I love the way she moves, and she stretches every day. Well, this might be sad to hear, but it's not the yoga, it's not the leather, it's not the piercings. Those things actually aren't what make her a great dancer, and it's not the stretching regime either. If you follow her in all those ways, if you're lucky, you've got dedication, talent, the right genes, and personality, you might become a great dancer, but it isn't the stretching, okay? So following someone slavishly, buying the same costumes even, won't make you a great dancer. So forget about that side of it. I like stretching. Now that is a perfectly good reason to stretch. If you enjoy it, do it, but not at the cost of your other training. Some years ago they did a study of watching dancers before class, and what they found is that the people who needed the stretching the least, that is the ectomorphs, were busy stretching away, and they didn't need to. What they needed to do is they needed to actually increase their endurance. Mind you, the little meaty mesomorphs, who really could do with some stretching after a warm-up, were busy just doing endurance work, or racing up and down the stairs, or doing burpees or whatever. Now they, at the end of 5 minutes of that stuff, should have been doing some stretches. So sometimes what you like isn't always what's good for you. So I hope that's given you something to think about, and how you spend your time and what you do with it when it comes to stretching.